Alright, you're looking at gameplay footage right now of Halo Combat Evolved. This is the Master Chief Collection version, but I was like, screw it, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna play it in because you could change the graphical settings to the retro, how it looked on the original Xbox, or you could play it as the enhanced version. So I said, hey, this video is kind of about nostalgia, so I'll play the regular version. Even well, it's not the regular version for the original Xbox, but you get my point. Original graphics style. So, with the unofficial demise of the Xbox brand, I thought it would be fitting to kind of give my retrospective on my experiences with Xbox. And if you're my age, you'll understand this more, but for those of you who may be in your 20s, there was a time where Microsoft, like, them making a console wasn't even a thought. It was a bizarre thing to think of. So when they were about to release the original Xbox and you saw what it looked like, let's keep it real, it did not look great. Okay? Trying not to laugh loudly. It looked like they stuffed a PC, which is essentially what they did, in a giant piece of plastic and didn't fit it in there properly, and it bulged, which is kind of what they were going for. They were I wanted to seem like, oh my God, the console is so powerful, the original Xbox, that it's exploding out of here because there's so much power. But I kind of saw it is corny. Not horny, by the way, I said corny. I'm like, this whole gamey, edgy thing, it just turned me off, and the green, it just seems so in your face. And I understand the marketing. See, the weirdest thing about being 44 is that the gaming industry kind of grew up with you. Not that there wasn't, there was the Fairchild console, and Atari wasn't the first system out there, but when gaming first hit its stride, you would say, was with the 2600. So the gaming industry kind of grew up with me. So at this point, I turned 20 and I'm looking at this console and I'm thinking to myself, this is dorky looking. It's big. It's awkward. And Microsoft's reputation at the time, they were the operating system company. I know they were doing stuff with gaming on Windows, but they were the operating system company. You know what I mean? You're making a console. I almost did a Freudian slip there and said PC, which essentially was what the original Xbox was. Can't call it the Xbox One. We know why we can't call it that. It was hardware-wise, yeah, it was essentially a cut-down gaming PC. Or no, I can't even say cut down. For its time, it was fairly powerful. Essentially, from what I heard, it had I keep on saying cut down, but it had a somewhat like a Pentium 3 in there, okay? It had NVIDIA graphics. And so you had this console, which was actually a good thing for it. I'm kind of going all over the place right now. But that was actually in the Xbox's favor because, developers are very used to developing games for PC. A lot of times games when they're developed for consoles, were developed on PC. So bringing the games over to the original Xbox was fairly easy to do. And on top of it, the original Xbox, which was during the 6th generation, was the most powerful console out of the three. There was the GameCube, there was the PS2. Actually, the PS2 was the least capable out of the three, but the original Xbox was the most powerful, so it was very easy, which I think helped Microsoft build a bigger install base because it was very easy for devs to take a chance on the original Xbox because it was just a PC crammed in a weird looking box. But I remember my first experience with the Xbox. I was working at Best Buy. Oh my God, this is bringing me back now. And I was working there during the holiday at college, and I was just this is in, I think, 2002. If I'm wrong about the year or whatever, it had to be 2002. And there was this dude I actually knew from college that was working at Best Buy with me. And it was weird because he wasn't a very pleasant guy, but he would get a nerd boner talking about Xbox, and he would not shut up about Halo. Would not stop talking about it. So he finally convinced me. I'm like, all right, man, you know what? I don't have a console right now. What the hell? I'll pick up an Xbox. So I got the Xbox, and it was a bundle. It had, the hell did it have? It came with Halo, Combat Evolved, Sega Rally, and Jet Grind Radio. And I brought it home, and I was like, all right, I'm going to try Halo. Everyone won't shut the hell up about Halo. And I'm going to give it a shot. So that's the first game I tried. Now, what's funny is years later, I tried Halo Combat Evolve again and fell in love with it. But when I first tried it, when I brought home that Xbox bundle, I was like, what the hell is this? This is what everyone is saying is the best first-person shooter ever. I didn't like it at the time, which was stupid. And then I tried the Sega Rally game. I'm not big into racing games that much, so that's neither here nor there. But I tried Jet Grind Radio. I know it's a cult classic, and a bunch of people think it's a phenomenal game. I wasn't digging it. So in the end, I think if I remember correctly, I ended up returning that bundle because I just was like, I think Xbox sucks. And I gave up on it and returned it and got my money back. I did that a lot during the 7th gen, or 6th generation, excuse me. I did that quite a bit, where I would buy a system, play it for like a month, not even. And then I would return it or sell it. I must have had the PS2. God, I keep going to the 7th gen. I had the PS2 and got rid of it. I had a PS2, traded it in towards an Xbox. I had a PS2 and I sold it because I needed money to go to California. Yeah. Oh yeah. That's why I remember there was a dude at the mall. This is what happened. I was going to go trade it in, but I knew I was going to go trade it in at a electronics boutique. Wasn't even GameStop yet. And I was going to go get money from electronics boutique for the PS2 to use to go to California. And what was funny was, this video is a mess. What was funny was, there was a guy who saw me with the PS2. Remember, he was like a Hispanic dude. And he was like, yo, you trading in that PS2? was like, yeah. He's like, I know they rip you off. I was like, I'll give you this for it right now instead of you trading it into them. I was like, all right. I took the money and used that to go out to Cali. Anyway, what the hell was I talking about with the Xbox? So yeah, I returned it, the Xbox, to Best Buy, got my money back, and I don't know, I probably drank it all away back then because I was in my college years. And I didn't really have an experience again with the Xbox until 2005. It was weird. The 360 just came out, but I bought an Xbox. It explained to me why I did that, and the reason I got it because I was curious to try Half-Life 2. I didn't have a gaming PC at the time at all, anything. And I wanted to play Half-Life 2, and that was the most affordable way in 2005 to do it. So I got that. I got Half-Life 2, and it was a port of Half-Life 2. It was okay. For the time, it was amazing that they did it at all. It's funny to think as you could run Half-Life 2 on a potato now. I mean, Christ, it's a game that came out in 2004. But, yeah, it would go into like, that game mostly ran at like 20 frames per second on there. But that was the reason that I got it. Why I didn't get a 360, I have no idea. I don't. Probably because I couldn't afford it. So, and then I think I sold that too. What the hell was I doing? Now, one of the best memories and why I look back on the original Xbox was so fondly was, man, it's crazy to think of this. It was another lifetime, where we would all, after work, we used to all work at a furniture store, and we would bring our Xboxes with a copy of Halo Combat Evolved. This is one thing I had fun with Halo back then, as much as I was unimpressed with Halo Combat Evolved back then, to the point I brought back the console bundle that I had that included that game. One thing that was fun as hell was LAN parties with, we would play the LAN party multiplayer, and we would bring over the consoles to each other's house with the Ethernet cables and the whole nine, and it was absolutely amazing. What great memories. You would go there, go drink, and play Halo. That was a pretty cool experience with that. And we did that quite a few times too. That's the thing I miss about gaming. Now with gaming, not saying like I think fondly back to Elden Ring and things like that you don't have great experiences, but those great social experiences that you would have, you don't get those anymore. Not that they don't happen, not that you couldn't make them happen now. You definitely could, but because the social dynamic of gaming has pretty much all gone to online, you don't really get that anymore. I mean, on top of it, I'm older too, I get it. We all have kids, we all have families now, blah, 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 blah. But, that interaction you have though, back then where you were with people in a room, you joked around, you can't do that through a mic on your headset or just a USB headset with a mic on it. It's just not the same. Now let's go on to the 7th generation. And like I said, even though I mentioned a bunch of memories there, combined together everything I told you about gaming for the entire sixth generation, if you condensed and concentrated all of the gaming time I had during the sixth generation, I meant to say, sorry, sixth generation of consoles. During the sixth generation, if you concentrated all the time together that I gamed, it was probably like a month and a half total, the amount I gamed for the entire sixth generation, which is about 5 years. So at this point, I was really out of it gaming. I was doing a bunch of stuff with music at the time, and gaming was an afterthought with me. And I, my life was not a mess in a bad way, but I was a free spirit. I guess you could say. It sounds corny as hell, but I was just a mess. Again, not in a bad way. And I remember I just got this pretty good paying job, at least for the time. And I was pretty excited about it. And with my tax return, I'm like, I keep hearing things that are good about Gears of War. And I keep hearing good things about the Xbox 360. What the hell? Let me go pick up an Xbox 360. So, like the giant late 20s man or mid 20s man child that I was, I got off of work, went down Route 9, and went to Toys R Us. That Toys R Us is long gone now. And picked myself up a 20 gigabyte Xbox 360 with Gears of War. Now, the interesting thing was, some of you who may be OGs of mine from a long time ago who followed me on this insane YouTube journey that I've been on, you'll remember the infamous Polaroid TV I got, which is funny, going back to the original Xbox for a second. I got it again. Oh yeah, I got it with Halo. I got Halo 2 as well at this time. I got Half-Life, and then I picked up Halo 2 because I wanted to play it online. But the reason I even got an original Xbox again was because I wanted to try the component out and play, because you remember the original Xbox was you could actually play games at 720p and 1080i. And I knew the Polaroid TV that I got was a 1080i TV. Remember, before 1080p, they wanted to just have the bigger number on the TV because to the average consumer, the higher the number, the better. So I had a Polaroid 1080i TV, and I wanted to get an Xbox to use the component out to take advantage of it. And I remember sitting in my parents' family room, and because I was there for Thanksgiving, and setting up the TV with the Xbox and playing Halo 2 online via component. Anyway, that's an aside. This video's a mess. Now let's go back to the 360 and me being a man-child and buying it from Toys R Us with Gears of War. So I came home. I got the component cable too, by the way. It did not come with a component cable. That model I had too, this first 360 I had quite a few of them because I'm an idiot. But the first one that I had was only the special adapter, the video port that it had, the AV port. That was the only output that it had. The I had the model that was before the 360 had HDMI. So I think I was knee deep into the red ring model. I never had a red ring on that, but anyway. So I brought that home. Almost lost my train of thought. That would have sucked. So I brought that home and I hooked it up via the component cables that I had to buy to the component in on the Polaroid TV. So I had the 360. I threw in Gears of War. I set it up as 1080i. And I remember, probably should have done 720p, but whatever. I didn't know better back then. And I remember playing Gears of War. Marcus Phoenix, he gets let out of his prison cell. And I remember, like, just seeing an HD game. I've never seen it before. I never saw anything in high definition, even on PC. I never really, when I was gaming on, like, my Pentium. In Pentium 2, I was doing 640 by 480 or whatever, So to sit there and see HD to 720p for the first time and see the visuals and how sharp the textures were, and granted the game was fairly brown, but how detailed the graphics were. Looking back, it's kind of laughable now, but especially when I was out of the gaming scene really for years and barely gamed during the 6th generation, it was mind-blowing. And then I got Dead Rising. I remember playing the demo for that. I went to buy that right away. That was my first experience with Fear, first encounter of Assault Recon, the first-person shooter. Highly recommend it if this is the first time you're hearing it. The first time I ever played Fear was downloading the demo from Xbox Live and trying it on the 360. So the 360 for me was such a watershed moment. And then the 360 made me fall in love with gaming again. I don't think I would be gaming again if it wasn't for me getting a 360 and having these amazing experiences. Then I remember, getting Castlevania Symphony of the Night from the Xbox Live Arcade. And that was a big deal, not only because I love Castlevania Symphony of the Night and the Castlevania franchise dearly. It was because that was the first time they ever allowed a game of that size to be downloaded from Xbox Live Arcade or from the Xbox store. So that was amazing. Halo 3, oh my God. I remember the ex I was with at the time, my ex-girlfriend. We were both going to work that day. And I was like, oh crap, Halo 3 comes out. She's like, you want to not go into work and just go get that game? And I was like, are you kidding? She's like, yeah, if you come back to the house, we could have sex too. Excuse me. I'm not kidding. So we went to go at a GameStop. Late September, the day it came out, 2007, we picked the game up. I went back to the house with her. I got laid. And I played Halo 3. Talk about a good memory, right? And it's weird how you correlate games with times in your life and experiences that you had. It's a strange thing to think about that. But man, what was interesting about Halo 3 is, again, with the campaign, I was lukewarm on it, but the multiplayer I fell in love with. And I know I played Gears of War 2. I beat that with another guy who was a YouTuber, Dan Van Dam. back in the day. That was a fun experience. A big thing I remember too with the 360 was that was when I started to dabble with YouTube. Um, Again, just at the time I was just messing around. And before I had an HD capture card, I actually recorded onto a Dazzle capture card. But at the time, my footage was some of the nicest looking footage on YouTube because how I recorded from the Dazzle capture card is a lot of people back in the day, they didn't split their video properly. They would just get like a Y connector, right? And they would take one signal would go into the Dazzle capture card, and then the other signal would go to the TV. But because they were splitting it, it wouldn't, it would degrade the quality of the video. Not only was I not splitting the video, not only was I using S video, but I wasn't splitting anything and degrading the audio or in video quality. I was using a video distribution amplifier, which maintained the S video quality and the audio quality. So you got S video, which was way cleaner, wasn't component, but it was way cleaner than composite video. And I wasn't splitting my video and audio and degrading the quality of my video and audio. So I was uploading in widescreen and in a quality that no one else was doing. What the hell am I talking about? The throw with the 360, who knows? But it's weird with the 360 too, because not only did it get me back into gaming, it reminds me of my super early days on YouTube and how I experimented with a bunch of stuff. The weird videos I would make with my friend Sean talking about the 360. I remember downloading the Resident Evil 5 demo and talking about a review of it. I remember back then I did a impressions video, and back then CBS copyright claimed that video. Ah, yes, some things on YouTube never change. But it was weird because it was the seventh generation where we really saw the YouTube gaming community flourish. And you think back to like El Presador with the 360, or how he was a fake PS3 fanboy. You think back to Call of Duty and all the commentary channels that was huge during the seventh generation of consoles. It's weird because the seventh generation not only was a defining generation for online gaming, it was being the beginnings of digital distribution, and it was the beginnings of YouTube becoming an integral part, of gaming. So it was a really, even as an adult, I was in my late 20s and hell, even my early 30s when the seventh generation was still the main generation. But, there was so many exciting things happening that it was still, I look back upon it now and I'm getting this really strong sense of nostalgia, and it's strange to me because I was in my 30s, and you think, all right, I'm a full grown ass man, And I remember my grandmother who used to live with us, she was going into assisted living, and me getting BioShock Infinite and hearing that song, Will the Circle Be Unbroken? It just reminds me of that whole moment with my grandmother going into assisted living. And it makes me look at that game, and it was the seventh generation, where even though I was a full grown man, I felt like I was going into the depths of adulthood at that point. The, you know, being a single grown man where you only have to worry about yourself. And even though you're an adult, the weight of the world isn't on your shoulders. I feel like at that moment that was ending for me. Anyway, moving on to the eighth generation of consoles, and mostly with the Xbox One. I remember the Xbox One, and when they first revealed it, thinking it was laughable. It was sad because you had so much, even though the 360 ended up being outsold by the PlayStation 3, and then the Wii outsold them both combined. Well, no, that's not true. The Wii outsold them both, but it would not both of them combined. It wasn't that the Wii did that big of numbers. If I'm wrong about that, I'm wrong about that, but I think it was. I know it was like the low 100 million, but it wasn't, like 160 million. But anyway, you thought after all of the positivity that Microsoft goodwill, even after the Red Ring of Death situation, which I luckily, even with how rampant that was, I never experienced that with my 360. But they basically, with the 360, they changed the way online gaming was done. The PS3 never came close to the 360 with online gaming. And man, go and stay with the 360 for a second before we get fully into the Xbox One. I remember when I was laid off from IBM, my friend got laid off from his job, and we had nothing else to do. Nothing. We couldn't find a job to save our damn lives. And we would be up until the wee hours of the morning just playing Halo 3 with a bunch of other people who were unemployed too that we met. Those are the great moments that you think back with Xbox, and it's sad to see them not moving forward with the brand the way they should have. It's, in my mind, doesn't matter. They say they're making a next gen system. We know it's just going to be a PC. I hope it's more than that, but I don't think it's going to be much more than that. And we know they're done with the Xbox brand because they're the company that pioneered the way online gaming is now. So anyway, I think we'll continue. So Xbox One. This is when I first started. In 2013 is when I first started doing YouTube full time. Excuse me. And it was a really exciting time. I kind of lucked into doing YouTube full time, to be quite honest with you. I was talking about gaming. And I was talking about gaming news. The next gen systems at the time, the 8th gen systems, the PS4, the Xbox One, and the Wii U, if you could call it a next gen system, where the Wii U was already out in the market, the PS4 and Xbox One were coming out. So it made like the perfect storm talking about news. People were looking for news. I got very lucky with YouTube. I think it was more luck than many other things. I don't have imposter syndrome, but let's just keep it real. Perfect storm is a perfect storm. Nonetheless, the Xbox One, the launch was a complete failure. It looked like a VCR. Don Matrick they made it seem like an overglorified DVR. And what's funny is that Microsoft tried to predict the future with the Xbox One, but in the end, all the features that they were pushing ended up just being integrated into damn smart TVs anyway. The whole thing with Kinect and being able to turn your Xbox on with your voice. Who the hell asked for any of that? Anyway, so the Xbox One launched, came with the Kinect. It ended up being, when I got my Xbox One, because I did get it launch day, I wanted to do all the coverage for all the consoles on my channel, and I did. And yeah, I got Dead Rising 3. And yeah, it was not a great console launch in the slightest. And the Kinect it sucked. I remember, I think I got Battlefield 4 for both the Xbox One and PS4. And the thing that sucked about the original Xbox One, now Microsoft remedied this with the Xbox One X, which ended up being the most powerful console of the 8th generation. Because if you remember, there was a PS4 Pro, like there's a PS5 Pro, and Microsoft had the Xbox One X, which we never saw them do an upgraded version of the Series X. I mean, most stores are liquidating their stock right now or taking it off the shelves because the 9th gen was a complete failure for Microsoft. Let's keep it real. But in the beginning, with the base Xbox One and the base PS4, the base Xbox One was almost significantly, is the best way to word it, less powerful than the PS4. I remember Call of Duty Ghosts was only 720p on the PS4 and it was 1080p. No, it was only 720p on the Xbox One, excuse me, and it was 1080p on the PS4. Battlefield 4 was 900p on the PS4 and only 720p on the Xbox One. So it was more expensive too than the PS4. The Xbox One was $500 US. The PS4 was $400 US. The PS4 didn't come with some piece of crap like the Kinect, and games looked and ran better on the PS4 than they did on the Xbox One. So you were paying more money for less product and a peripheral that no one wanted. Think about that. This was the beginning of the end of Xbox the way we knew it. Microsoft never recovered from that. Now, what's funny is I did enjoy the Xbox One X, and it seemed like towards the end of the generation that Microsoft was learning from their mistakes. They were becoming more pro-gamer. The Xbox One X was a cool system in games like Red Dead Redemption 2. That was the best way to play it. It looked better than it did even on the PS4 Pro. It looked and played better on the Xbox One X. I think it even ran in native 4K, where it only ran in 1440p on the PS4 Pro. So yeah, on the Xbox One X, Red Dead Redemption 2 ran at native 4K, and on the PS4 Pro, Red Dead Redemption 2 only ran at 1440p. And then you had Microsoft buying all these studios, which was questionable. But you thought, okay, with these lineup of good studios they're buying, there's no way in the 9th generation they could screw up, right? Right? But no, here we are. The Xbox Series X and Xbox Series S were great consoles, as from a hardware perspective. They're impressive. And it could have been a great generation for Microsoft. But I feel once the deal went through with Activision Blizzard, they had no interest in hardware anymore. They're going to make so much money off just being a software company, software publisher, software developer, game developer, I should say. Game publisher, game developer, and having all these different games like Call of Duty that will print them money, and the mobile games that were under Activision as well. They don't care. And that sucks. Because as much as Microsoft never had like the huge swath of first party games like Nintendo or even Sony, they did bring a lot to the table and they revolutionized online gaming. They did a lot for the gaming industry. And for them to just want to just take the Xbox brand and slap it on a sticker like a teenager slaps an Apple sticker on their Windows PC just to be edgy and have this whole terrible slogan of everything that you want to be as an Xbox is an Xbox. This is an Xbox. Your phone is an Xbox. Just waters down the brand, a brand that was great, a brand that with people that are really pessimistic and skeptics like me, you made me into a believer of Xbox during the 360 era. And now you're throwing it all away, Microsoft. But I will say, making this ASMR video, thank you for the memories, Microsoft. And it sucks to see Xbox go out like this. And thank you all for listening. Until the next video, have a good one.